Hello and a very warm welcome back. Part two. Had a good half-time interval here. John's, hasn't gone too berserk with us, so I think we're all right. I don't know whether that's your style at half-time breaks or not, John, but we've escaped, I think. Now, Naz Premji, broadcaster, John Pemberton Chesterfield manager, former crew, Crystal Palace. He won promotion with them in 1989 and played in the 1990 FA Cup final, which went to a replay, didn't it, against Manchester United. Sheffield United, 90 to 93, played in goal on his debut against Liverpool after an injury to the keeper. You keep a clean sheet?
No.
How bad was the damage?
We ended up getting beat 3-1 in the end. I think it was 1-1 at half-time, and that's my claim to fame, I think. They went pear-shaped after that.
What a baptism of fire that was. Have you played in goal since or before that?
No, I've been up before, but I was all right with it.
Against Liverpool, of all people.
Yeah.
Leeds United, 93 to 97, played in the 1996 League Cup final against Aston Villa. Been caretaker manager at Nottingham Forest and Bristol City. Been in charge at Kidderminster Harriers, that's another story. And former Blades Academy chief. Before we come to Naz and his job at William Hill, Howard Wilkinson, your manager at Leeds, what did you pick up from him? Obviously a very good manager, a title-winning manager.
Yeah.
Just done that, hadn't he?
Yeah, I really liked Howard. The big thing about Howard, what people don't realise, he's actually got a good sense of humour. People think he's a bit dour, but he's not. He's actually, and he was really good for me. And I think I played some of my best football there. I played in a good side, and I improved as a player there. But I had to. I remember going there, and I came back my first training session, and I used to tell the young lads the story. When I came back in after training and got home and I sat down and Mrs. gave me a cup of tea and she said, how was that? And I went, I've got to improve. She went, what do you mean? I said, I got a kick this morning. The training was another level. And that's why, I had to improve and I did improve and I stayed in, I played quite a bit for those, which I enjoyed.
While we're on Leeds, we've got to mention how well they're going again under Marcelo Bielsa for a second season. Are they going to do it this time?
Well, I also I mean, when I first came to Sheffield, we were in the Premiership, or the old First Division. Sheffield Wednesday was there, then we had Barnsley in it, and then we had Bradford was in it, Leeds were in it. It was a brilliant hotbed of football, Yorkshire, and it'd be nice to get that back, But they're in a good position now. Hopefully they can do it, yeah.
And like Sheffield United, they play great football, I think. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Having covered many Leeds games this season, you just think. Last year, they got to that point, didn't they? And then everything sort of fell apart, and they weren't really. I don't want to say fit. I think just because they missed out to Sheffield United with that automatic promotion spot, I think just dropping into the playoffs was just too much for them. This time round, they've had the dodgy spell, but they've had it early, Alan. Yes. And now they've come out the other side, and a couple of 1-0 wins. That's all you need. The Championship is so. I mean, it's fierce and it just tests you to every level of physicality in terms of 46 games. It's Wednesday, Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday. And I think this time round, he's got them fitter and they are actually, maybe the mentality's gone to a different level.
Do you know this fitness thing? I mean, I've got Huddersfield at home, Ellen Road on Saturday. This fitness thing is often levelled at Marcelo Bielsa. People say that there's a burnout factor in his teams. We're not actually seeing that at the moment. Well, what do you make of that?
Well, I think you used to. I think you look at when Klopp first went into Liverpool. One of my good friends was a sports scientist there at the time, and they was talking about they had a lot of injuries because of just the intensity of training. I think, and that's what happened at Leeds. I think the difference is now they're 12 months down the line, so they're used to it. They've had a pre-season at it, so your body can adjust to the demands of what he wants. Yeah. So they're getting less injuries. I think they got a lot of injuries last time. They didn't have a huge squad, and I think once you get a few injuries to key players, and then you've got teams who are fighting and teams coming at the end of the season, like Sheffield United did last year. It can put you on your back foot, but this year I think they're down the line. They're used to the demands and the workload in which what they need to cover.
the sheer intensity, and he's a very intense character, it seems to me as well. Bielsa is an obsessive, would we say?
I find him engaging. I find him whenever you're covering a Leeds game, you're concentrating on what's happening on the pitch. But John, you're looking at him in the dugout when he sat on that bucket, or he's then stood up and then he's talking to his staff and he's barking orders and he's throwing things down, and he seems like such a perfectionist, and you get the feeling and. You want your players to run through brick walls for you, and I think that squad now is at that point where they will do anything for him.
Yeah.
And you need to get that, and it maybe takes 12 months, 18 months.
Between Sheffield United and Leeds in that respect, that connection between manager and players. And not much change either. Not much change in either team.
No, I just think they're used to it. Like they're saying, they're used to the demands. Pep's like that at Man City. He's so intense.
Yeah, last night at Hillsborough.
He was very intense yesterday.
And they're playing the team in you can't help. You can't change the way you are. No. You are what you are. You've got that in. As I always talk about when you're talking about young players and identifying players, it's almost like you have that little warrior within, that you're looking for. But and you can't. If you're a winner, you're a winner, and it never leaves you.
I've seen that. So I remember Laurie Madden didn't know squash, and he says, "Oh, I'll come and play. Do you play squash?" I said, "Very occasionally, Laurie. Oh, I'll come with you." And I had to tell him what the rules were, and he thrashed me. Well, he didn't thrash me, but he beat me. But he had to. He says, "We've got to, as professionals, we've got to win." Yeah. And that's the difference between you and I and guys like him.
Well, exactly. Isn't it?
Yeah.
That's why he's in the dugout and we're up in the
That's why I'm getting hammered in the dugout.
I think so.
You're sat here peace and quiet.
Well, talking about winners and losers, that's your job during the week, isn't it? That's really.
Yeah.
William Hill TV, you present on that, but you're not just a face and a voice. You're actually, mathematically quite sound and working out odds and stuff.
Yeah, you have to be. You have to know your betting, but obviously it's fairly intense. Busy coming up. Obviously, Cheltenham Festival next week, so everything's sort of geared towards that. But horse racing, greyhound racing, but you can have a bet on anything now. Alan,
is that a problem in society? I mean, you can have a problem about first throw-in in football, first free kick. Who's going to give this away? First substitution. Is it? It's good for your industry, isn't it?
It's good. It is good for our industry, and I think the way people bet now, it's not like 5, 10, 15 years ago when you didn't have a mobile with all these apps on, and websites weren't as
you had to make
advanced.
A phone call.
You had to make a phone call. Yeah, you'd have a telephone betting line. But now with the onset of technology, Alan, it's very easy to get into that cycle, and a lot of the gambling industry now is very geared towards responsible gambling. There's so many responsible gambling messages. There's been so many high-profile documentaries and high-profile. I mean, footballers get into it. We've seen high-profile footballers who get into, the wrong side of the gambling industry.
Well, we had one here, Charlie Hartfield. Yeah. It was very, very honest. And you know Charlie.
Oh, I know Charlie. Yeah. Charlie. Well, I played with Charlie.
Yeah, it was so honest. So, betting on the FA Cup as it is at the moment. Sheffield United got a good draw at home to Arsenal. Any draw at home, I suppose. Some heavyweight clubs in the FA Cup. How do you see the betting market on that at the minute?
Well, people will look. I mean, Manchester City after last night got what everybody would argue a favourable draw. Yes, they've got to go up to Newcastle, but of all the teams they could have got in the draw, I think Pep will be quite happy with that. From Steve Bruce's point of view, he'll think that's probably their sole chance of beating them. If they'd got them later on or at Wembley in the semis, I don't think anybody will beat them out. So Manchester City have got to be favourites for the FA Cup. And the way he was managing yesterday, at half-time you could see Pep Guardiola was frustrated, and I think he will have given them what for at half-time, and that's credit to Gary and how Wednesday played, and eventually they ended up losing. But for me, Manchester City got to be favourites. But that Arsenal game, Alan, for Sheffield United, I don't think it's a good draw. It's a good home draw, and Chris will be delighted with that because you want to be at home. but I don't think it's going to be as straightforward as maybe it looks on paper. I think they've improved a little bit.
It's going to be a close
under
game, isn't it?
Arteta. I mean, you could be talking extra time and penalties again with that one.
You won't want to play Sheffield United at Bramall Lane.
Yeah, that's the thing. The home draw is the key for me.
Don't underestimate Sheffield United in this cup. I'm telling you, because they're in a good place.
Yeah.
And
he's taking it seriously.
You've only got to win. You've only got to win 6 games. And you know, and you've got the cup. And
well, they've only got to win 3 now.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. And Sheffield United capable of doing that? Absolutely, 100%. You know, I'm not being biased on that. I'm just saying, you know, Arsenal wouldn't. When that draw came out, Arsenal wouldn't be too pleased with that.
They wouldn't have been happy, would they?
I don't think so.
They've already experienced Bramall Lane this season, and they were pretty well chased off. You know, it was only 1-0, but they were. Right, so we're going to take you back now, John. Talking of the FA Cup, to that momentous year of 1993, when there was an all Sheffield semi-final, and what set that up was a game that you played in and figured. In the the culmination of it, in the climax of it. This was against Blackburn Rovers in a quarter-final replay in 1993, finished 2-2 after extra time. Mitch Ward scored both your goals. Come a penalty shootout, and guess who takes the final penalty?
John Pemberton, and some of his colleagues can't look. If he scores, Sheffield United are in the semi-finals. And he scores! Drove it in like a bomb. And Dave Bassett has at long last made it to the semi-finals.
As the embrace with Alan Kelly. What a moment. What strikes me about that is Dave Bassett's face. He looks almost crestfallen, or is he just drained, or what?
I think he's just relieved that I managed to hit the target.
And what was that moment like, stepping up to take that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm all right with them situations. Like we would talk about when, you know, my league debut, I went in goals against Liverpool. I was all right with it. They don't bother me. I quite like the challenge of it. You know, we'd had a brilliant game against them. You know, it was nip and tuck, and then we managed to get back, and it's penalty shootout. And you know, quite a few of the lads didn't want to take one, and they said, like, you know, we take one. I said, yeah, I'll have the last one. You know, 1, it might not get there, and 2, if it does. And
so you actually asked for the last one?
Yeah, I asked for the last one. Yeah.
Well, wow. And you took it emphatically and with conviction.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't going to mess around with it. You know, if he was going to save it, he was going to have to save it.
Well, he got a hand to it, didn't he?
Well, I'm not sure he did.
Did it look? Well, I don't know. What did you think?
Well, I don't know.
It was always going in.
No, it was always.
But he might have got a fingertip or something.
Well, if he'd have got a finger to it, I probably might have broke it.
What do you make of all these fanny around penalties that you get? I mean, Spurs took 1 or 2 very poor ones last night against Norwich. What do you make of them?
I just think whatever's comfortable in however they take it. I mean, I think you saw I could strike a ball, so there was no point. If you could strike a ball, strike it well, and the goalkeeper has to save it. So it was just you know, a good time.
That was a great night, and of course, I was going to say a great day to follow. Depends. It was a great day.
It was a great day. I remember it really well. Yeah,
for you. Yeah.
And really playing at Wembley. Who was I talking to just the other week? Kevin Gage about this just last week at Aberdale Sports Club. In a forum, and he said the worst thing that could ever have happened, and he felt Dave Bassett has since held his hand up that was the wrong thing.
We should never have played at Wembley. No. We'd have played at
Elland Road. It was going to be
because the pitch weren't great at Elland Road.
Bobley,
you know,
boggy and bobbly.
I think we'd have won the game, but as soon as we went to Wembley, I think, oh well, at least we'd have played there. But we know, listen, Sheffield Wednesday were a good side and they're good players.
But it changed your approach to the game as well psychologically. I thought you were actually trying to play a bit of football, and it wasn't right.
No. Well, I just think the whole thing was actually a bit bizarre because you know, the whole city, you know, Sheffield going down to London to play a semi-final, it was just crackers. But you know, now they started rolling. The semi-finals have been there for a long time, but we should have played it at Elland Road.
It was a crescendo, you know, John. I remember there was, because Arsenal and Spurs were going to play at Wembley, and then this sort of, it was like a mad media sort of push to say, well, we want to be, if they're playing at Wembley, we want to play at Wembley, and it was like...
Could Dave Bassett have held out against that? Because, as you say, there was such a groundswell. There really was such a groundswell. That, and because the fans were driving it, because they all wanted to be there,
Wembley,
which they couldn't have been.
I mean, as a player, it's nice to, you don't get many opportunities. I've been fortunate to play at Wembley 6 times. It's, you don't get that opportunity a lot. So I can understand
Palace twice,
as a
Leeds,
player. Well, we
League
played
Cup
when they
final.
had. Remember the Centenary? The Centenary. We played there in this little tournament when I first went to Palace. That's my first time, and then. We played obviously cup finals, cup final replay, semi-final.
6 times at Wembley. That's terrific.
Like the old Wembley as well. The old Wembley was nice for me, just as a kid growing up. Dreaming of playing at the Twin Towers, which I was pleased to do.
Of course, everybody remembers '93, particularly neutrals certainly, and Sheffield Wednesday fans, for Chris Waddle's storming free kick, fantastic free kick early in the game. How did that free kick come? I've forgotten.
You might want to ask him.
Do you remember it, John?
I think so, yeah. I think I'll give it away, yeah. And,
who did you foul? I can't remember.
I can't remember, actually.
Was it Shez?
I can't remember. It might.
I seem to think it was...
But you must have thought this is too far out for too much damage.
Oh yeah, well, so,
it'll just be floated into the pot.
Stood doing the wall saying, go on it, this, he'll be all right. Yeah, we've got Kells in goals. He didn't even see it.
Yesterday, I mean, last night on the TV, Chris Waddle was talking about it, and he said
it was too far out.
He said John Sheridan said to Chris, have a go. Give it some hammer, and Waddle wasn't. Chris Waddle wasn't going to shoot.
No.
And John Sheridan it was that told him have a go, and then the rest, as they say, is history. He had a go,
and he's still doing it to this day.
Did you see? I mean, Sunday League, 50 odd. Did you see that?
I did see
that was a great goal.
It was indeed. It was indeed.
That's what we could do with it in the middle of the park with Bannon.
Let's just roll on to present day and Chesterfield. So you've taken charge. There's been a marked improvement, not just because you're sitting there. I've seen it. I've seen 2 of the games in your regime. 4 wins out of 7. Still a bit precarious. 4th bottom. And you would have edged out if you'd have won the other night. A, your confidence in how this will resolve itself, and B, long term, because you just managed it till the end of the season.
Yeah, I think that's important. That's what I mean. The main thing was obviously going into there. We were 5 points adrift. We were second from bottom, 5 points adrift at the time. So it was important to win some games early, because 5 points can become then 8, and then you're on an island to nothing. So luckily we won the first game, and then we went away at Eastland and won the second game. So it gave us a really good platform. We've definitely improved. Right. I think we've improved. I was to do it initially, the takeover, till this takeover was going through, which I was told was probably the end of January, and then I was told it was going to be February. Now I'm told it's probably going to be March.
This month,
about 20th of March. But I'd agreed to do it for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So they wanted a decision to be made. I think it was only right to do it to the end of the season, because if a new consortium, the new owners want a new manager, that's up to them. I think
they get that opportunity.
That's only fair for them, and I'm okay with that.
Right.
If they think I'm the right one to do the job, and then we can sit down at the end of the season and look at how we go forward. I think that's important. It's important for them, and it's certainly important for me with my career moving forward.
And this is the Chesterfield FC Community Trust who've agreed this deal, and it should be ratified this month. It's fairly clear, because I think people are being quite transparent about this, that it will be scaled down financially.
Yeah.
You the moment you're carrying probably the best paid squad outside of the Football League, aren't you?
Oh well, yeah. We have a big, we've got a squad of 23, 24 players.
Yeah.
It is a good budget. What we've had, but you know, if you're going to scale, it needs to be. You just need to know how it's going to be scaled and where it's coming from, because it's all right scaling something down, which previous clubs I've been at, we did it at Bristol City, but the goals have to be realistic then.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the main thing. It's not saying, well, half the wage bill, half your playing staff, and by the way, gets promoted. It's just not realistic.
No. But if the fans know what the financial realities are, then really all expectations should be adjusted from that. Although, because it's a club of the size it is, and because so recently it was even in a League One playoff at the end of the season, there's always going to be that expectation that Chesterfield are going to get back in the, and that's got to be the aim. It's hard,
but it's a big club.
Yeah.
Oh, and you know it yourself. It's a big club. It's a good club. When people turn up, it's a difficult place to win games at, because when people turn up at the Pratt Stadium, they get turned on by it, because it's a lovely, you know, you go to some of the grounds, and with all due respect to them, they're not the best.
And you're going to some of those.
Yeah, and we've got to go to some of them, and then
you go to Chorley on Saturday, bottom of the table.
There's a few like old school grounds, if you like, but and that's the difference. You know, people come to us, and it's a little Wembley.
Ideally, is it something you've pitched in for, or have you spoken to the new owners yet? Is it something that you haven't?
No,
I suppose.
I've not spoken to the new owners. No, I've only dealt with the current owner. Would I pitch in for it? I think only time will tell. You know, listen, if I do a good job, my main focus is what I'm setting out to do, is to get us out of the bottom four. I want to survive, and if I do that, I've done my job, and I'll be happy with that. And then, however it moves forward, you know, and that's all I can say at the moment.
There've been a lot of applicants, I think, already.
I think
it's an attractive job.
Yeah, well, I think there's been 40.
You mustn't get to know that. You must be told all the time, well, so-and-so was here today, and so-and-so, and why are they here? Well, they're interested.
I get the list before every game, so I can see who's here, so I'm not daft.
Yeah, it's that kind of game, isn't it, Naz? You know, it's...
rumour and counter rumour, but on a serious note, I really hope John does do it, because for the town and for the area, it's so important for Chesterfield to at least stay in that league, because you go down to the National League North. It's, you know, that's a completely different minefield, and as John's saying, teams are coming to the Pro Act, and it is like a mini Wembley for them.
Like a Wembley
you
for
know.
them, yeah.
So I really hope that Chesterfield do it, because it's a great club. I loved covering them for the time I did, and you get a soft spot for them, and it pains me to see where
I've
they
turned
are.
him from an owl into a spyrite.
Yeah.
Well, we both have. Yeah, it's great. We've just got just over a minute left. Sheffield United's European ambitions, by way of finishing 4th or 5th, of course. Whoever wins the cups and that is going to influence that. Is that on for you?
I think it'd be an unbelievable achievement for them. Of course, it's on. It's the part of me wants it. Other part of me goes, well, you know, because all the ones who go into Europe, they always struggle the next season because there's loads of games and they're travelling. You know, I'm good friends with Sean Dyche, and he had it at Burnley. They struggled.
But you're getting the income, which will hopefully pay for a strengthened squad. Well. Maybe.
Does it?
I don't know.
Does it?
Maybe Sean Dyche should probably say no.
You said that, not me.
Yeah, and he's probably got a lot more commitments. But it is a very exciting time to be a Blade, and I know that'll always be in your heart, just as Chesterfield will be in mine, and the Owls will be, and that's what football's about. Naz Premji. John Pemberton, thanks so much for a hugely entertaining best part of an hour. It'll be repeated here at 11 p.m. and if you missed altogether, there's a treat awaiting you shortly on my YouTube channel. See you next week. Bye-bye.